welcome to my channel. Today I will be reviewing an African violet called Ness Satin Rose. It was hybridized by Don Ness and registered with the African Violet Society of America in 1995 under the registration number of 8144. So it's one of the older varieties, but it's a very popular variety and it's a very lovely plant. This is a semi-miniature variety of African violets. This is a very, very young plant. I received it as a baby earlier this year in spring, and it's in the middle of its first bloom, and I wanted to capture it on video how adorable this semi-miniature violet is. The leaves are dark green, quilted, scalloped with red back, and they're kind of heart-shaped. They're very, very cute. They shape into one of the cutest rosettes I've ever seen. It looks like a little sphere or semi-sphere because they kind of drop very gracefully a little down, but they don't like lay really flat, but they just shape in a very, very cute shape. They are not large leaves, they're small because it's a semi-miniature, and if we had to measure them, they're about 1.5 inches long. This is my very first semi-miniature variety, and when I received it, I just fell in love with the blooms because the blooms of Ness Satin Rose, they look like they're glowing from inside, from the center. It's really, really hard to convey what it looks like, but they really look glowing. And so the color is double, so they are double blooms. They're not single, they're very full doubles. And they are rose-mauve two-tone stars. So the rose is in the center, and then it goes to darker mauve towards the edges of the bloom. And the stems have so many buds on them, so that each stem looks like a mini bouquet, like a mini rose bouquet, even though not to be confused with the African variety standard called rose bouquet. So this is just a metaphor here. So the flowers are not large, again, because it's a semi-miniature. If we measure them, they're about 1 inch in diameter. And if we compare them to a dime, they're slightly larger than a dime. Yeah, maybe like a dime and a half in size in diameter. This variety receives the same care as the rest of my African violets. I give it from 10 to 12 hours of daylight. That includes natural daylight, because I have a plant stand facing, let me see if we can show it to you. It faces the western window here, but it is not a full length of the western window light, because there is another building facing our building here. So I do supplement the daylight with the LED light. So the total number of hours that I have the daylight for my plants on the stand equals about 12. I wick water all of my violets. Here they are, and I use like all sorts of containers. I'm trying to be creative. This is just a plain mason glass jar here. And I use regular acrylic yarn as my wick, so nothing fancy there. I add very, very weak dose of fertilizer called Bloom Booster from Miracle Grow. I talk about that fertilizer at length in my Frosty Cherry review, so if you're curious, you can check it out. And then I try to regulate the temperature here. We recently had a heat wave in the 90s, and so I try to make my violets comfortable having the temperature at 70s or 80s. but when the 90s hit, or in the summer, I'm bracing myself for 100s here in California. So I try to keep my AC working. I need to call a repairman soon to make sure my violets are comfortable. And I also try to keep the humidity levels at above 50 to 70, and I use a cool mist humidifier, air humidifier. It's over there standing, if you can see on the stand in the corner. And when running a humidifier, also make sure that I run a fan, because as I learned from my own experience, if you don't run a fan and just run a humidifier, then you're at risk of developing, your plants developing powdery mildew. So you need to be very careful about humidifying the air around your violets. Thank you very much for watching. Again, this is Ness Satin Rose in all of its glory, and it's a very, very young baby, and I'm really pleased with the way it's been growing and performing for me, and I look forward to having it bloom and seeing more blooms in it, and just seeing how happy this semi-mini is. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for my future African violet reviews.